Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah. Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah. Alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. Yesterday we spoke about things we can do before the prayer to help establish our focus. We talked about how before the prayer, when you make wudu, before making wudu, recite Bismillah. After wudu, recite the Shahada and brush your teeth. This can serve as a great way of establishing your concentration. And also we talked about checking to make sure that the area that you're going to pray in is clean, that your clothing is clean. These are things we can do before the prayer that will help to develop our Khushoo. Well, today we're going to talk about things to do during the prayer, because during the prayer, that's when your personal jinn will try to take you away from the prayer. Your personal jinn will do everything to try to distract you, to try to get you to lose your focus, get you to break your attentiveness, get you to break your concentration. He'll cause you to think about things that you end up forgetting after the prayer. So what can I do during the prayer that will keep him at bay, whereas he will not be able to distract me much? Well, one of the things that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us to do is to move at a steady pace during the prayer. To move at a steady pace. In other words, as you perform the positions of the prayer, you want to make sure that you don't rush and do them. When you bow, you want to make sure that your hands are on the knees. Your back is straight. Allow yourself to rest for a minute and then raise up. Okay? You want to allow time for your bone to relax and return to its place. In fact, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, none of you has prayed properly until you can do that. Until you can take your time, allow yourself to complete each position, allow your bones to rest. Until you can do that, you're not praying correctly. So in other words, don't rush through the prayer. Don't pray like a fox. Also, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the worst thief is the one who steals from his prayer. We talked about this hadith the other day. A person said, "O Prophet of Allah, how can a person steal from his prayer?" The Prophet said, by not performing the bowing and the prostration properly. Also in another hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one who does not do the bowing properly and the person that pecks up and down while prostrating is like a man who is starving. It doesn't do him any good at all. So again, you want to make sure that you perform the positions properly, correctly, without rushing through them. Otherwise, you are stealing from your prayer. In other words, you're going to walk away with less reward. Remember, guys, the weaker your concentration, the lesser the reward of the prayer. Okay? Also, another thing that you can do while praying that will help to keep your focus is to remember death. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, remember death in your prayer, because the person who remembers death during his prayer is bound to perform it properly. and pray the prayer of a man who doesn't think that he has another to make. In other words, guys, how do we remember death? By pretending that this is the last prayer that you will ever pray in your life. Just imagine that this is the last salat you will ever make. If you imagine this being the last salat you will ever make, you will make sure to do everything properly. Also, in another hadith, the Prophet advised one of his companions, Abu Ayyub. He said, when you stand up to pray, pray a farewell prayer. In other words, pray as if it's your last prayer. Okay, so again, just when it's time to make salat, and I want you guys to try that today too. The next time you pray, imagine that this is the last prayer. This is your last chance to develop a relationship with Allah before death. And I bet you make that prayer the best and you do everything right. Okay? Also, another way to keep your focus while praying is to ponder the meaning of the Quran as it's being recited. Now, we talked about it yesterday. You don't have to recite after the Imam, but you should ponder the meaning of what he is saying. And when you're praying by yourself, as you recite the Fatiha in Arabic, ponder the meaning of it in English to yourself. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. The Quran is a book which we have sent down to you full of blessings so that you can ponder over its words and that the men of understanding will remember. So whenever you're praying, as you're reciting that Fatiha, ponder the meaning of what you're saying. That will help to keep you focused. Okay? And this is why we strongly encourage non-Arabic speaking people to learn the meaning of the surahs in the language they speak. So when you hear those surahs being recited in Arabic, you can ponder the meaning. Okay? Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of meaning. And those who, when they are reminded of the words of their Lord, they fall not deaf and blind at it. So in other words, when you hear the words of Allah being recited to you, it helps you to increase your faith, your belief in Him. And that's why it's also important, guys, to learn the tafsir or the meaning of the Quran. As Ibn Jarir once said, I am astonished at people who read the Quran and do not know what it means. How can they enjoy reading it? And I agree. How can you enjoy reading something that you don't understand what you're saying? I mean, learn how to recite the Quran in Arabic. Alhamdulillah, this is good. But you better go back and learn the meaning of those words. Otherwise, you're not going to get no benefit. Also, another way to keep yourself focused and to ponder the meaning of the verses is to repeat them over again. For example, if you get to a verse of the Quran that you're reciting, ponder what is being said. The Prophet used to do that. He would sometimes stand up praying and he would repeat the same verse over and over and over again. One day he was asked, why are you doing that? The Prophet said, because I'm pondering the meaning of what Allah is saying. Okay? So again, repeating the verse over, even with the Fatiha. You don't have to recite the Fatiha after the Imam, but a lot of people do it because it helps them concentrate. So if you choose to do it, there's nothing wrong with it. But you don't have to. But if you're not going to repeat after him, at least ponder the meaning of what he's saying. Okay? Also, another way to keep your concentration strong during the prayer is to perform the sunans of the prayer. Just like there are sunans of the wudu, such as the rinsing of the mouth and the nose, there are sunans of the prayer too. You don't have to raise the hands before and after the bowing, but we do it because it helps to strengthen our Concentration. Every time you raise the hands up and down, you're pushing shaitan back. Another example, raising the finger up and down when you recite the tashahhud. This is not an obligation, that's a sunnah. But we do it because the finger becomes an iron bar that holds your personal jinn back. So again, doing the sunnahs of the prayer will help to increase your khushoo. And also repeating Allahu Akbar, saying Ameen, saying Sami Allahu liman hamidan, you reply Rabbana wa lakal hamd. These are all examples. Listen to what the Prophet said. He said, if the Imam says Ameen, then you should say Ameen too. And whoever says it, and it coincides with the angels, will have his previous sins forgiven. And once the companions were praying behind the Prophet, when he raised his head, he said, Sami Allahu liman hamida, and a man behind him said, Rabbana wa lakal hamd. And when the Prophet finished, he said, who was the one that said that? The man said, me. And the Prophet said, I saw 30 angels or more rushing to write down your name for saying that. So again, excuse me, responding after the Imam is a good way of increasing your khushuu during the prayer. Okay? So thus, guys, I want you guys to try these things today. Today, when you make salat, after you do the wudu, when you're doing the prayer, make sure you take your time and move at a steady pace. Also, imagine that this is the last prayer that you will ever make in your life. And also, when you recite the Fatiha, ponder the meaning of it. And then repeat, if you're praying with your husband or praying at the mosque, repeat after Imam, Allahu Akbar, Rabbana wa lakal hamd, and those things. Okay? On that note, we'll stop right here for today. Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah. Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah.